Welcome to the WAVY Digital Desk. We're here because it is National EMS Week, and we're here with Battalion Chief Glen Williams, Public Information Officer and Recruitment Officer with Norfolk Fire-Rescue. We're going to talk a little bit about the department and what National EMS Week is important for in terms of learning about the people that care for us every day. So, Glen, thank you so much for joining us today. I think that I was impressed at the fact that Norfolk Fire-Rescue really encompasses fire and the EMS department for Norfolk and how much work they do. But do you just want to start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your role?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name is Glen Williams. I'm a Battalion Chief with Norfolk Fire-Rescue. I'm the Public Information Officer and also involved with recruitment for our department. I've been there just over 21 years now, so it's been a great career so far. So we're celebrating EMS Week this week. It's important to us because with Norfolk Fire-Rescue, we are all EMS as well as fire. We're a dual purpose department where every firefighter has an advanced life support certifications. It's called the Advanced EMT or Paramedic, and we're nationally registered. So these are the two highest levels of certification you can have in the nation. So we're very proud of that. So EMS plays a big role with our call volume.
And what's that training like? I mean, when they go into the fire department, are they spending weeks training for that paramedic level?
It's actually months.
Months.
For paramedic, it's almost 2 years of schooling. It depends on how they do it, whether they go on their own to a local community college, or we offer it sometimes as a department, and that's usually a lot quicker because we're doing it every day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It's a very rigorous course. They're street doctors, basically. Paramedics, they do a lot.
Right, so they're able to manage medicine and care in the field.
Absolutely, and even the advanced EMT portion, we have the ability to start intravenously, give drugs intravenously, depending on what certification you have. It depends on what drug you can push, but they're advanced levels, both of them. So it's a lot of schooling.
Absolutely, and
just for the minimum advanced, which we have in our fire academy, I would say it's probably about 5 months worth of schooling. So.
So they know it all, and they're able to go out to these scenes, whether it's a crime scene, whether it's a different kind of emergency, and be able to help.
Absolutely. They're based on the type of call. Depends on what kind of service you're going to get from us. If it's a broken toe, you might just get an ambulance coming to that call. If it's somebody that's having difficulty breathing or something more serious, you're going to have a fire truck, you're going to have an ambulance, you may have a battalion chief. Just, it depends on how the call comes in, and the criteria for the patient is how we determine who goes on those calls.
And Norfolk has a lot of different attributes, I guess. There's city, there's beach, there's, other waterways, there's suburban areas. I mean, that's a big landscape to fill.
Absolutely. There's the naval base, there's the ports, there's the light rail, the interstate. So we do have a lot of various potential things that could come up that we have to be well trained for. As you saw I'm sure you saw last week, we had a person injured on top of a crane at Norfolk International Terminal, and our technical rescue team had to rappel down 130 feet with that patient. So we have to be ready for everything.
Right.
And at that same time, they also can administer patient care while doing all that because of their certifications.
And I mean, speaking of all the waterways, you all do have boats that you do use for your services.
Yes, we have several boats where we have a water rescue team located in Ocean View and downtown. They do training daily, so they're well prepared for that as well.
Right, and then coming now into the summer season, I mean, I'm sure there are specific things that you all are looking out for now that the waters will be more busy, now that things might be a little bit more active at the beach or outside.
Yeah, definitely. We, as the warmer weather approaches, we make sure that all of our vessels are ready to go, and the training ramps up a little bit more. So our yeah, they are ready for it.
And last year, you spoke about some numbers, how many calls that you all had and how many, I guess, how much work the team had to do, whether that was fire or EMS, because they do split their shifts, is what you said? Okay.
Yeah, so last year we ran approximately 53,000 emergency calls, which is a record for us. And out of that, approximately 85% of those were EMS related. So EMS plays a big role in our department. So with the members of the department, they typically will ride on the ambulance for 12 hours of a 24-hour shift. It just depends on which station you're at and which apparatus you're going to be on. But at some point, most members will be on that ambulance. So, and again, even if you're not on the ambulance, if you're on a fire truck, our fire trucks have all the emergency medical equipment on there as well. So it's just not designed for transport of a patient, but that's what makes our department so successful and so good to the citizens as far as the service we provide, is because we are cross-trained and all of our equipment are on every truck, so you're going to get very fast response.
Right, so there are enough resources to go around for all those calls.
Absolutely.
And, I'm sure out of the 53,000, some are maybe less severe, and it depends, but that is a lot of calls, and that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of work. So, with the rise in calls potentially, or, emergencies, how has that been for maybe, the well-being of everyone?
It definitely takes a toll. We have begun to recognize, most fire departments across the nation have really begun to recognize the importance of wellness and mental fatigue that the call volume is taking on firefighters in the nation. So we've started basically training committees on firefighter wellness. It is definitely changed over the last few years. We worry about that more than we ever have. For fatigue, for sleep deprivation, for mental well-being, so exposure to some of the things that they'll see on a typical day. And it does, over a longer period of time, it compounds, and we want to make sure we take care of everybody while they're on the job and off the job.
Absolutely. And today is Safety Tuesday for the week, for the National EMS Week, and I think the one thing that I'm curious about is sort of how your EMS, how they remain safe, because there is a lot of things going on and people they have to protect, and there was just a story that we did on WAVY, which might be more from the firefighter side related, but keeping everyone safe in different scenes for job related problems or anything. So what is their training like and relationship like with the police? You said it was that's been a successful relationship for you all.
We work hand in hand with our Norfolk police officers. Without them, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Depending on the call that comes out, we will respond simultaneously with police. Say, for instance, if somebody's in cardiac arrest, police are dispatched on that as well. They carry AEDs in their vehicles. A lot of times, they're first on scene, and they are not afraid to get in there and get their hands dirty. They work very well with us, and we appreciate what they do for us. So it's been a great relationship between the two departments.
And you did say there are certain scenes that, the police do manage on their own. So I think you said drug overdose. They don't provide, for drug overdose, that's something that falls under your department?
No, so
okay.
The opposite.
The opposite,
so
okay.
Police can respond to drug overdoses. They carry the medicines.
Okay, they carry that as well.
A drug overdose and cardiac arrest calls. And they also assist us with any psychiatric situations that may come out as an emergency, just for safety reasons.
Right.
Typically, your other medical calls is fire related, but they do assist us on those other types of incidents.
Yeah, so everything else falls under your scope?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But in those incidents where very, time sensitive?
Absolutely, it's the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, the citizens are getting a fantastic service from both departments when it comes to EMS.
Right.
They really are.
And I did want to say just a little history that I was looking up before our chat was, there's been 100 years of fire service response and 30 years of pre-hospital emergency medical service response for the department in Norfolk. I mean, those are a lot of years of service, operating in Norfolk, a lot of years of change, I'm sure, especially over your tenure as well. I mean, what have you all decided to do new things? Has paramedic training, has that evolved over time?
For sure, it has gotten more difficult. As new techniques and new equipment come out, we have to constantly be retrained, and the techniques become a little more difficult and elaborate, so the training is it's longer, it's harder, so the members, everybody's very skilled in a lot of these things. But yes, back in the day, when I first started, taking EMT class was a week or two long, and now it's 4 weeks. And then for advanced, it used to be a couple of months, now it's 4 or 5 months. So it's a lot. The curriculum has become a lot more difficult,
Right.
rigorous, but it's for the good of the citizens.
Absolutely, and I think it is interesting to point out, if people aren't familiar with, different rescue and EMS departments, that it does change city to city. So
Yes.
no area down here has, exactly the same organization or setup.
That's correct, that's correct. Yeah, they're different, every department's a little bit different in this area.
And then, in the summer too, I know there are lifeguards, down at the water, but, that is a part of the call that EMS, I'm sure, is also deployed in some of those instances.
Yes, absolutely. For, potential drownings, overheating, things of that nature. We have fire stations that are very close to all the beaches, and they can respond via on foot or by waterway. We have the boats set up strategically in different locations, and we also have some on trailers that can access remote areas just in case the emergency arises. We can get there as quickly as possible.
And then for recruitment, I did want to talk to you, and that's a part of your role right now.
Yes.
With that increase in calls, are you all expanding? Are you all, just looking to keep, recruitment open for people that want to join?
Well, expanding we are. It's hard to believe in a small city that we have that we are still expanding, because we just recently added a new medic unit to the downtown and Glen areas. It's Medic 6. It's the Fire Station 6 right outside of Norfolk General. And we just added an ambulance to that location, which we're very proud of, which means we need to have more staff every day for that. So we are constantly hiring. Our department is very old, and we have many members that most firefighters get into the profession and stay there. We do it for the love of the job. And so we've got a lot of senior members that are slowly starting to retire. So we have that attrition rate that we have constantly need to fill those vacancies. And so we haven't had a major problem trying to get people to come on. I think there's always those people that have always wanted to be a firefighter since they were little, and we're fortunate for that. So we will ramp up. We're currently going through a process right now, and then our application process opens up again just after Labor Day weekend, this coming September. So in September, if anybody's interested, they can go onto our website, and there'll be information to fill out an application online.
And Norfolk seems to be expanding vertically, at least in that area. And again, I mean, there's new apartment buildings, there's new apartments in downtown.
Yes.
So I'm sure that is something to do with it, that area sort of?
Well, we just, there's been a lot of reconstruction in some of the older buildings that have gone from call centers to condominiums now. So we have taken note of that, and we are, always revisiting our volume of calls and what we need to make sure we can keep up with it.
Right.
as of right now, like I said, adding Medic 6 to that downtown area will definitely help them and get the citizens the service they require as quick as possible.
Right. And in terms of, we have a trauma 1, level center right here at Norfolk. Your care, sort of takes them, if necessary, and transitions them from the field to the hospital or to whatever care facility they need to go. I guess Lee is also a part of.
Yeah, it's basically Norfolk General and Sotero Lee Hospital are our two major hospitals that we deliver to patients. So we are very fortunate that they're very close for us. So our transport times are very short comparative to rural areas that may need, Nightingale Air Service or the 30, 45-minute transport times that some of those remote areas have.
Right.
Norfolk, we're minutes away. We're very fortunate for that.
And those minutes are important, both that you're in with care and also for the patient.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got, with the new technology, we actually, not only we've always called ahead to the hospitals to provide them the patient information of what's coming in so they can better prepare, but now we've even got the technology where we send via Bluetooth EKGs and monitoring, basically monitoring statistics of the patient so the doctors at the hospitals can see exactly what they're dealing with before we even arrive there. So it's just another part of the technology process that really makes the EMS care that we're providing that much better.
Absolutely. And how big are the teams that are going out with Norfolk Fire-Rescue? Is it 2 people in an ambulance? Does it just depend on the call?
Yes. Yeah, on an ambulance there's always 2 people. And then on our fire trucks we staff 4 on the engines and 3 on the ladders. So like I said, when a call comes in, our 911 dispatchers basically ask a whole bunch of questions. And based on their answers is how it basically, it's like drop-down tier method where it moves it into certain categories. And based on that call is what response you will get from us versus, depending on a fire truck or just an ambulance. We've recently just changed some of our matrix on the response, and the biggest one that comes to mind for us right now is cardiac arrest calls. We've tried to evolve, like you said, over time things change, and we have come up with this new system which I think a lot of departments are actually looking at. It's called high performance CPR. We're adding more trucks to this call to give that patient a better chance for survival. And what's happening with this high performance CPR is when we arrive on scene, we hate to refer to this like NASCAR, but it's like a pit crew. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do when they arrive. It's not the question of who's gonna be on the airway and who's gonna set up the heart monitor and who's gonna start CPR. This is predetermined. So when everybody gets off the trucks, they are straight in and right to the job. And we are noticing a dramatic improvement in the outcome for the patients.
Absolutely. And that's something where, we learned at least basic CPR earlier this year as a part of Heart Month in February. But, that's something that we learned, seconds count,
Absolutely.
Reaction counts.
And even with just basic CPR, it changes year to year based on the American Heart Association's recommendations. It used to be make sure you get 2 breaths of air before you start your compressions. And they keep changing it because the studies are proving, what will have the best outcome for the patient. So, the EMS field is always evolving, and that's what makes it so exciting for everybody. It's getting better every day.
Absolutely. And, there's 2 more things I want to ask about before we cut out for today. But, the first thing is we are, going to start hurricane season soon. And at least in Virginia Beach, we've seen what, tornado winds can do. We've seen what, hurricanes can do. I mean, is that something that you all are, have in the back of your mind, if things come up to be ready for, flooding, especially in Norfolk?
Yes. We have policies in place, and we prepare for that basically every day. We go over all of our equipment to make sure everything is ready to go. But when we have some sort of special weather event that we know is coming up, we take extra precautions and make sure we bring in people that are off duty to make sure we have more than enough staffing levels and equipment ready to go. So that's definitely always something we look at, especially, like you said, coming up to hurricane season and flooding. So.
And is there anything, I guess, lastly, that people can take with them in terms of, I know that you all are there if they need you, but anything that they really need to keep in mind to keep safe, whether it's just over the summer or just in general, whether it's, learning CPR or anything like that, could maybe help in an emergency situation?
Yes, actually June 3rd, coming up June 3rd, at Fire Station number 4, we're going to actually be holding a free demonstration to teach basic CPR and how to use an AED. So that's something that they can look on the city webpage for information on that. So, we just hope everybody stays safe. But if they need us, they know who to call, and we'll be there as quickly as possible with the best service we can provide.
Great. Well, thank you, Glenn. I mean, is there anything else that you want to add to this, or?
Just thank you for the opportunity for letting us share our information to you and to citizens.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do and for, the team that you all have. I mean, 53,000 calls last year. Obviously, I hope the number is lower this year, but it's good to know that you all have the certification, all of the training medically and for fire to keep everyone safe here. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.